Hello there, folks. I'm Dan Brown from a sort of interestinglife.com. You're joining me on board good old Narrowboat Tilly, and this evening we're going to have one of the happiness chats, and I promise from this moment forwards that these are going to be a far more regular feature of this channel, and ultimately I suppose we'll dive straight in. Now, tonight's topic is something that I'm a very big fan of, which I suppose is almost by definition what this series is about, things that I think are helpful towards being happy, and that is turning the other cheek. Now, there'll immediately be people who roll their eyes and think, oh, flipping heck, what's he talking about? Oh, just let people push you around as that, and being bullied and not sticking up for yourself. But that's not at all what I mean, and really it's, well, basically, in a nutshell, how I view it and what I think of as turning the other cheek is not getting involved in just nonsense. And there's a lot of nonsense out there these days, and with the advent of the internet, there's a lot of people who want to get you involved in that said nonsense for no other reason than to get a reaction and to get, well, they're not interested in your input or sensible reasoning or anything of that nature. And so that's where I start to draw the line of, right, you've just got to turn the other cheek. So if we look at this a little bit more sensibly, now there's obviously going to be situations where turning the other cheek is not a sensible option. If people are attacking you, if people are coming to do you physical harm or otherwise. So obviously you've got to take this all with a bit of sense and a grain of salt, and like I say, this is no expert psychoanalysis or any incredibly technical thing. These chats are just going to be about the things that I've noticed and witnessed and experienced based on other people. Now, turning the other cheek is something that is a lot easier to say than actually do. And I certainly in the old days had a lot of difficulty not getting drawn into stuff and being baited in stupid ways about completely nonsensical, just silly things. But I can honestly say now that I really do try my best to, well, any situation that I see, and you can imagine, as I say, after 3 million plus views on YouTube, I certainly had my bit of grief. And it's ultimately just down to being like, well, unfortunately, that's just the way it is, and that's just the way that some people are. Now, you could endlessly try and argue with everybody that you come across, and anybody who tries to give you some grief to bait you into having a reaction and an argument and all that. But ultimately, it is just a waste of time. And there's plenty of amazing things that you can do with your time. Well, almost every one of them is going to be better than arguing an unwinnable argument against somebody who's not actually interested in your point of view or reason. So this is what the heart of turning the other cheek is to me. Over time, I've got to say that I have seen some pretty strange behaviour in terms of people trying to get other people to react and just generally give them some attention. And unfortunately, I've got to say, it may sound harsh, but it seems generally true from what I've noticed, that these people don't really have anything to say of any value about anything at all, which is why they end up trying to start these stupid arguments or trying to get some grief going about absolute non-issues. And that's the first thing that I sort of realised in my life that led me to ever more sort of retreat from society and calm down and relax and be like, it doesn't matter, it doesn't really matter. And that was basically the heart of, hang on, if somebody's trying to give you grief or get you involved, then at the absolute core, is it really even worth giving them a second thought or even a glance if that's how they spend their time? And is it worth, more importantly, any of your time whatsoever, as I say, that you could be doing and thinking or dwelling on any other topic whatsoever with? Now, this can be taken a step further, and if you consider, on top of the general sort of instability of a lot of people who are wandering out there free in the world, then that's again something that you think, well, if this person's looking for trouble, and I give them some sort of reaction that they can rail against, then it's just going to get escalated. And this is something that I'm fascinated by on Facebook, that there's literally people who will post statuses, and perhaps you know these people yourselves, and perhaps not the same people, but perhaps you know similar people who do similar things, where they'll post deliberately sort of open-ended offensive things that are sort of basically offensive to the most number of people that a few sentences can be, so that hopefully somebody will correct them or stand up to what they're saying or what have you. And basically then they've got their person that they can go, right, well, I'm glad that you've said that, because now I can give you rah, 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 and there's my reaction that I wanted, and now you're getting what I really wanted to say originally, and now I can feel really good about myself because I've tried to put you down, when really I'm the one who's been sat here waiting for an opportunity to put anyone down at all, because, again, perhaps I haven't got anything to say or do that's better, a better use of my time. So you get the general gist of where this goes. And I mean, I'm not one for forums and things like that anyway. And as people may know, I only really post photos and stuff like that on Facebook these days. And I certainly would never start trying to tell other people that everything they think is completely and utterly stupid and all the rest of it. Although I have got a happiness chat video that I might do later on after I've edited this one, or might do it tomorrow sometime, entitled "What if everything you think is wrong?" or words to that effect. But that's for another time. So getting back to the heart of the topic again. This is why I just will keep constantly saying and going back to this core theme of, is it worth getting involved? If it's something that's not going to directly cause serious distress and trouble for people, and obviously, I mean, there's a lot of things that need standing up to. Like I say, this isn't what this is about. This is just the general needling and stupidity of, unfortunately, quite a large number of people now that the crazy world of 2015 is here, where everybody has the internet pretty much, and things like Facebook have 1 billion users a day log in, and that, I mean, that itself, you can see how if you've got 1 billion people a day logging into one single website, that there's always going to be arguments and there's always going to be people who rub you up the wrong way and so on. But you've just got to know when to either get involved or not get involved. And not getting involved almost all of the time, especially with stuff on the internet and Facebook and Twitter and that, not getting involved is almost always the better option, I've found. But again, I'm lucky to be, like probably a lot of people out watching this video, to not have any serious problems in my life, or not have any immediate danger where you can imagine if you cast your net around the world and could view all sorts of different people's living situations, then they would look at us and all of the things that we might complain about and squabble about on the internet and all that sort of stuff, and shake their head and think, I would give anything to live your life. And again, that's something that I'll do another video on that in the future, but it's ultimately that whole thing of, in the context of what's really important, are you going to get involved in stupidity and silly little things? Right, I apologise for the little jump in the video here, but I had to open the back door and open the windows and that just to let a bit of the heat out, as I've been sat so close to the fire. And I suppose we will round things off with the most important point of all of this video, which is the fact that if you notice someone who's like this, and someone who's negatively trying to get attention from you or other people all the time, then there's also a good chance that other people have noticed it. And that has two knock-on effects. One being that it really nullifies a lot of what they say to a lot of people. If you can think, oh, this person's saying something, then other people might also be, oh, look at that, having a go at this, or talking about that, they're up to their old tricks again, which again, it takes the edge off what they're saying, even though they don't realise it, and certainly takes the edge off attacks and anything that they want to say or do, and just to get your attention. And equally, on top of that, it's the ironic thing that people who go about their lives in this way end up, through like just endless negativity and grief, alienating a lot of the people around them, so that they end up having less attention, which is all that they want, from the people around them, because they've been trying to get so much attention from them. And it's that endless sort of cycle and circle, which also sort of ties in again with the lack of peace, that people who will change whatever they say to match different people and have different things to say about different topics and different opinions on a different issue depending on who they're talking with, so that they can constantly fit in and constantly be part of the cool crowd and that sort of stuff, which again doesn't do anybody any good ultimately. But it's the person themselves who's spending their time doing this that's the one who really does have the biggest problem with it, because I can't see myself that anybody who lives their life in that way could really be happy. But again, what do I know? I'm just an idiot with a camera talking at you from a random boat in Shropshire. So I suppose on that note we'll wrap things up. Hope you've enjoyed this. Like I say, this isn't any sort of amazing medical training guide to the human mind or anything like that. These are simply just a few things I've noticed over the course of the last 28 years or so. I suppose I'll say the usual things. If you want to check out my other videos, then you'll find loads of boat life and canal scenery and all sorts of great stuff from beautiful Shropshire and Wales and the great outdoors in general. Feel free to subscribe for more videos like this. I do a weekly chat video, I do weekly boat videos, and then throw in the random selection of biking, kayaking, walking, time lapses, all that sort of stuff. But until the next time, I suppose I'll say, if you do want to add me on Facebook, Twitter, like the Facebook page, then you'll see plenty of canal pictures and updates from Life Afloat. If you want to check out my first ever narrowboat audiobook, you may well be able to get it for free off Audible if you aren't a member already. And of course, please do consider checking out my boaty books for the Kindle in general. Search Amazon for The Narrowboat Lad, or find links to everything just mentioned and even more in the description below. Until the next time, keep it smile-worthy, keep it boat-worthy, have a fantastic day and farewell.